Is this number 5?
This is 5. This is now the TnT Excuse to Hang Out podcast number 5 with
Someone told me
Tim and Tony.
Someone told me we're pushing almost 100 views on our cars topic.
Really?
Yeah, it's like 80 some, almost 90 views.
Wow, that's pretty good.
I know. And then Ellie reminded me that the person she follows has 16,000 per minute average when they release a new one. So we're close.
We're getting there.
You know.
So basically leave it to your daughter to tell you that don't worry, Dad, you're really not worth anything.
Well, she started off by going, the high. I know you have almost 100 views, and then the low. But this so and so, I did 16,000 a minute.
And then what do? They probably talk about toys or something.
I was all excited, and then I was like, "Damn!"
It's probably just somebody that talks about toys or makeup or travel
that's what my comment was. Well, I don't have to be like them, so.
Yeah, we can talk about our own much better topic and get no views.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, make no money.
Yeah.
But all we care is that we get to hang out.
Yeah, it's right. It's right in the name.
That's right. It's in our gift bags that we give out. That we gave out to Katie.
The empty gift bags of sadness.
Yeah. There's a new podcast I was listening to with Jason Bateman and a couple of his other actor friends, and they're basically doing what we're doing, just hanging out and talking.
Yeah.
But they have guests on that people know and love, and plus people know and love them. So
it's a big difference from us.
That's the big difference, but this is a thing, that people do.
Yeah.
They just get together and they talk about stupid shit.
Well, we're definitely good at that.
Yeah, we are.
So we've got the talent for talking about stupid shit down.
Yes.
Now we just have to find the people that are willing to know and love us.
Yes, that's the difficult second part that we'll probably never ever accomplish.
Yeah, probably.
But with podcast topics like cars and computers, people are going to be flocking.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, computers today.
Computers. We both have relatively extensive, if somewhat slightly different experience, at least different recently.
Yes, we do. You like building computers, and I work in IT. How did we get started? How did this all happen? And the strange thing is, I was talking to Katie, my sister, our guest last week, 2 weeks ago, and she said it's really strange that it's such a diverse thing. You guys could talk about cars and working on cars, and then computers also. There's not a lot of that. People are usually one or the other. They're not both.
Yeah. With me, it kind of works out because I have such a ridiculously diverse just set of hobbies and interests.
Yeah.
That almost anybody's going to find at least one that they,
sure,
one thing that I could probably talk about them with, or talk with about. You got it.
I get
what I'm saying.
I'm following you. Get there.
Talk about with them.
You'd stop drinking before.
The funny thing is, drinking is actually not one of those topics. You would be surprised. So you listen to me talk for very long, you'd be sure that I had a long, extensive knowledge with alcoholism.
Oh, your brain works way too well.
But
you have not killed any brain cells.
I've been into computers. Oh gosh, I'm trying to think of how old I was when I first started using a computer, like a lot, and I was, under 10 years old, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I'm sure Windows wasn't even around when
you
started, right? DOS?
No, it was DOS.
Everything.
And the first computer that I had a lot of experience with was actually one that Eileen, both of ours aunt, had. And I remember her getting it, and it was like such a big deal. I'm sure this thing was expensive, thousands of dollars. And I don't know what kind of processor or anything was in it. I was young enough back then that, the technical aspect, I didn't really care much, but, you could play a couple of simple, stupid games on it. So
probably no processor.
I was all in.
The squirrel, the cage.
Well, it had, I think, what did it have? Either a 4 or maybe a 16 color display.
Ooh.
So you'd get a very slight variation of color.
Slight variation of color.
And
but color was there.
There was some color. Some programs. Now let's not get crazy. All the programs didn't have color. It had 2 5.25-inch floppy disk drives. Remember when they were actually floppy?
Oh yeah, you could flop them.
You could.
They were floppy.
It had 2
I
of those.
remember it.
No hard drive.
No hard drive. They just
No
all ran
internal
off the floppy
storage.
drive.
It actually had 2 operating system disks. And you had to put one of the disks in, turn the computer on, wait for a while it loaded off at that disk. Then it would say to switch the disks to disk 2. You would take that disk out, put disk 2 in. Then you would hit enter, wait for a while again. And only then would you get the tiny little flashing command prompt of DOS.
That's where the fun began.
That
You
is where the
weren't
fun
ready.
began.
You weren't. Nothing was happening. It just loaded so that you could start typing in the commands.
Yep. Oh, but
And
let's
that's-
not get crazy. The commands that you could actually type in before putting in another disk were pathetic because remember, you didn't have a hard drive, so any command that you could type could only be applied to whatever disk you had in at the time.
Right. Right. There was no searching a hard drive
No.
for commands. It was just it has to be on that disk.
Yep. So you could now put a different disk in the second emptied bay, and man, just start your life of waiting for stuff to load.
I think we named this podcast topic wrong. It should be, how old are we? Time to reveal our ages.
Yeah,
We're not going to actually tell you our ages, but we're going to tell you about the computers we used to have.
you're gonna figure it out. So that was the first one. It wasn't even my computer, but my aunt lived with us for a long time, and so we used that computer all the time, and it had a word processor on it. I don't even remember what word processor it was. I mean, it certainly wasn't Microsoft Word. I don't know what it was, but oh man, typing stuff up on that, typing up letters and reports on that, and then printing them out on a dot matrix printer.
Just the same dot matrix printers that auto parts or repair shops probably still use.
Probably still do.
You get tires on your car and they're still printing on a dot matrix in the back.
Yeah, amazing those things still work.
Yeah,
I mean,
pretty heavy duty.
you get an HP printer and it works for like a year. The stupid dot matrix printers worked for 35.
yeah. Yeah, you just had to be able to find the paper with the little holes in the end that roll through the wheels.
Yeah, oh yeah. And then you had to get the right width. You'd go to the store and you'd buy paper and you'd get home and find out that it had like the wrong number of holes per inch on the little margin that you tear off.
Right, you can always adjust the wheels to fit the width, but then the wheel holes wouldn't line up.
Yeah.
It's always frustrating. I bought a box of this, so what am I going to do?
Yeah, and you had a whole box of it and you already pulled half of it out and it's like all interleaved together. So once you pull some of it out, you can't get it back in to return it.
So you just burn it in your burning barrel. So that was your first memory, huh? Your first computer?
That was the first computer, yeah. How about you?
Well, mine was a typewriter.
Well, okay, I had one of those.
Well, that's why the reason I say that is because I started learning typing on a typewriter. And, you get so sick of, well, you have to type perfect because there's no room for error, except remember the autocorrect where you'd hit backspace or autocorrect and it would go back to their letter and white it out. Do you remember that? Do you guys have one of those fancy typewriters?
Ours wasn't that fancy. We've seen.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about,
Yeah,
but we didn't have
kinds
one.
of racket. It would go and it white out that, and then you go forward and type it again.
Yeah.
I just got so sick of typing on that. I think your mom gave me my first computer, where it was the same as what you're talking about. It may have had a hard drive. I think she got it from work. You remember when she got old computers at work?
Oh yeah, that's the first computer that was actually ours was from her work, and
okay.
I still remember all the specs of that one. That was a beaut. But go ahead with what you're talking about.
Well, I think it had the 5, but it also had the 3.5-inch non-floppy disk drive.
That's what I always called them.
Yeah. So it had both, and then it had a hard drive too. I mean, obviously no Windows. I mean, not even Windows 3.1. It was just DOS. And that's how she wrote down a whole bunch of command prompts for me to follow to get into the word processor, just so I could type. But there was also a bunch of little games and stuff she gave me, which maybe you guys got tired of them or something, or just done. but it was unbelievable having going from a typewriter to a word processor, even on
Yeah.
on a horrible DOS run piece of shit computer. I mean, it was the greatest thing. I could backspace. There was obviously no way to check spelling, um,
Right.
way to count the words or anything, but just you could just type, and that's how I learned. I learned typing. I got through my 7th, 8th grade typing classes on that with one of those big heavy keyboards that you had to press down as hard as you could to get to type one letter.
Yeah.
But you were used to it because you were typing on a typewriter before that anyway.
Yeah.
So that was my first computer. That I just loved the DOS operating system. That was so fun.
Yeah, you
And
felt like a genius having to type in all these commands. You felt like a hacker.
yeah. You felt like you were hacking into NORAD. It was amazing. You watch war games and you're like, I do that to get into word processor.
I could do that. I'm as good as he is. I've typed in commands into DOS.
And by the way, I watched that movie recently. I gotta watch it again.
I did too. I just watched it like a month, maybe 2 weeks ago.
I did too. Why? Why did you watch it 2 weeks ago?
I don't know.
Oh my gosh, that's weird because I watched it 2 weeks ago myself. I just saw it on, I don't know, Prime or something. Like I haven't seen this in 30 years.
That's exactly the same for me. I just watched it. That's funny.
Wasn't it just eye-opening? Because when I watched that when I was young, I was amazed, and now I'm like,
this is the stupidest thing I've ever seen.
It's horrible.
I mean, the movie is still good, but like the technology that is on display in that movie is hilarious.
Because that was supposed to be it, right? That was legit.
That was like high-end best of the best.
I mean, how did the FBI find, like, he used his phone to dial? It was just so bad. Anyway, it was fun to watch again.
Yeah.
That's really weird. We were probably watching it at the same time.
That would be extra weird.
Yeah, it would.
It'd be kind of cute,
really though. Well, I know we talked about a Utah trip next year, but I might have to cancel that. Get separate hotel rooms.
Yeah, the funny thing is there was that computer I got to use of Eileen's for a while, but then eventually we didn't have a computer, and I also learned typing in high school, but I actually learned it on a typewriter.
Oh, you poor bastard.
And I took my typing classes on a typewriter, as crazy as that is. But then the first computer that we got then, that was actually our computer in our house, it was essentially mine in a way because I was the one that cared about it the most.
Yeah.
Was also one that my mom got from her work whenever they would, upgrade everything. They'd get rid of a bunch of computers and they'd either give them away or sell them cheap. And I think it was a Pentium processor, but I'm not positive on that. It might not even have been, but it was a 66 megahertz processor. Megahertz,
yep.
66 megahertz processor. It originally had 4 megabytes of RAM, but it had been upgraded to a whopping 8.
Oh my gosh. Well, you had a nicer computer. You had a pretty nice computer then. And, compared to my Packard Bell, but we'll get into that. Go ahead.
And then it had a 50 megabyte hard drive, which had 12 to 15 free on it. And anytime I would get a new game or go to install it, it would fill up, and then I would just pick random directories that didn't sound like anything I knew and delete them.
For those of you who are listening that don't know computers, you're talking megabytes. There's 1,000 megabytes in a gigabyte.
And there's 1,000 megabytes in a gigabyte. There's 1,000 gigabytes in a terabyte. And so to put this into perspective, that entire computer had a 50 megabyte hard drive. I have a cheap digital camera now that every image is 15 to 20 megabytes. So that entire computer's hard drive could hold approximately 2 to 3 pictures from that camera.
Yeah, I think puts it into perspective, doesn't it? For all you young punks listening.
Yeah,
for all
you
talking to you, Timmy and Ellie.
Young whippersnappers. Can you imagine?
My children.
Not the memory card in the camera. Forget that. Just imagine your computer only being able to hold 2 pictures.
Yeah.
The
I
whole hard
mean,
drive filled, 2 pictures.
what did this comedian say that girls take more pictures on the way to the bathroom than they took their entire childhood? Just walk to the bathroom and come back. They've already taken more pictures
Yeah.
than we did our entire childhood.
Yeah, and I have a video camera that takes videos that are like 50 megabytes a second. So you'd be able to take 1 second of video.
So you would be really careful when you took that video of
You would
getting the
make sure that it was something that
yeah.
really good. But that computer also had a 5 1/4 and a 3.5 inch floppy that wasn't floppy drive.
Wow.
And oh man,
We're calling them floppy non-floppies.
floppy non-floppies. And I would
It's very getting. You called us cute
some
earlier. This is getting
FNFs,
weird.
some FNF drives. And oh man, I remember going to stores. Any electronic stores, CompUSA, think of some
Yeah.
other ones that don't even exist anymore.
Right.
Circuit City.
Yeah, Best Buy's still holding true. I can't believe it.
I don't even think that was around though then.
No, it wasn't.
But you go there and you'd look at games and you'd look at the system requirements, and it was so funny because I would have to go. Even then when I got this computer, it was something that someone else had given away because it was old.
Yeah.
And you'd have to look at the minimum system requirements and like, okay, is a 66 megahertz processor going to do it? And then how many how many 3.5 inch discs does it include? Will it even fit on the on the hard drive? So that was fun. But I had just little simple games on that one, obviously, but it was a blast and it was something to learn on. Had Windows 3.1 on it.
Yeah.
But Windows 3.1 was basically just a shell around DOS anyways.
Yeah, you had to do so many things, go backward, back to DOS, back to Windows 3.1. And you remember you get in and out of that, you're like, oh, I'm going to do this in Windows.
Yeah.
You go back to
It
Windows,
was
like,
so
oh,
exciting
no.
when there was something you
Yeah.
could actually do in Windows.
Yeah, it was very few things you could actually do, but
Yeah.
it was exciting.
But that was that. And then
Oh, yeah, wow.
my mom had this idea that typing was going to be a big thing in life, and it is, and it has been, and I'm really glad I learned it and got good at it, but she made me a deal, and she must not have realized just how badly I wanted a computer. But she made me a deal that when I could type 60 words a minute, she would buy a computer.
Wow, maybe that's when I got your old shitty one.
Did you get that one that we had? Maybe
That
we
might have
gave
been the
that
one
to you.
Yeah, that's the one I got. Could that have been the one that we played Doom on, or is that not?
It might have. Yeah, that one probably had Doom on it. Probably had
Because
the original Doom on it.
She brought me, I'm thinking 8 3.5 inch discs. She installed it, but she gave me those
Yeah.
install discs. And I think there was at least 8. There's a stack of them in a rubber band. And one of them was the executable that you had to type in to run it.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, this was the final. It's disc 8, pop it in, start it. It's an executable command in DOS, and you were there. You were playing Doom, which is the greatest. That was the greatest game. The first greatest game I ever played on a PC was Doom.
Yeah, it was one of the first that was like an expansive world and felt not super immersive, but it wasn't just
Man,
all the games before then were so simple,
Mm-hmm.
At least the ones I had.
And me too, of course.
Just so
We
simplistic.
didn't have the option for anything else.
Yeah.
First time I played it was at Brett and Trent's house, our neighbors we grew up with, and they had money and they had all the latest and greatest. And
Yeah.
we go over there and play that all the time. And then when I got it on my own computer, I was like, this is amazing. And then you had to have, you had to convince your mom, well, I'm just playing a game and it won't be that long. And then after like 3 hours, you get yelled at for being on the computer too long. But man, that was so fun. I'm sure we probably played it together too, but I'm pretty sure that was your old computer. What did you get then? What did she buy you?
So it was just for the family then,
Oh,
and
dang it.
but again, it kind of mostly became mine because I was so into it. I took over. I ended up upgrading it later. We had that thing for a long time, and I remember all the specs. I can tell you all the upgrades I did, but if anybody could be cared or maybe needs to go to sleep or something, they need something to bore them to sleep. But we got
That's how we got 90 views, because people are using our podcast to go to sleep.
yeah. But back then, desktop computers, there wasn't like just a few brands, and I know there's more brands now. There's starting to become more brands, boutique custom builders and stuff like that. But back then, I mean, there was like 40,000 different computer brands. Everybody would just slap their name on a case and throw together some components and call themselves a computer manufacturer. But our computer was a Pionex.
Pionex?
Was a Pionex.
I've never heard of that one.
We got it at Sun TV. Do you remember that place?
Oh, I remember Sun TV. Yes.
We got it at Sun TV. We bought the extended warranty. The drive failed, and we went back to Sun TV, and they were out of business. So that was awesome.
Can't believe it with a name like Sun TV.
Yeah.
I don't know why. That just doesn't sound like it's going to be in for the long haul.
But
maybe Best Buy bought them.
So we got that computer. It was pretty expensive. We didn't have a ton of money at the time, so I'm sure Mom had to save up. I'm sure it was a big deal. It wasn't, she made a deal to buy it if I reached 60 words a minute, but I'm sure it was still, a decision and, worked out and have to save up and all that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But I think that computer was like $1,300 or $1,500.
Did you ever hinder your progress in typing, like in the background? You look back now and be like, she's trying to stop you from hitting 60. So, because you didn't have
I wake up
yet.
to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night and she's gluing some of the typewriter keys down.
Or just hiding the keyboard. I don't know where it is. I'll get another one in a couple weeks.
No, I learned to type 60 words a minute on a typewriter.
Wow. And can you still?
Yeah, I'm better than that. The thing is, I never really practice to go I mean, I type a lot.
Yeah.
But I don't practice, so anytime I take like a typing test where I check my speed, it varies wildly based on the number of mistakes.
Yeah.
Anywhere from like 70 to 85, but 85 is I'm really pushing and I probably made some mistakes.
I feel like the Pam and Jim conversation now, because I was going to brag.
Yeah.
When he called and asked Pam how many.
I just watched that episode. I just watched that episode a couple nights ago.
Yeah. He's like, I don't want to tell you now.
That's respectable.
Respectable. So I think I'm like at 60, and I thought that was good. But you're pushing 85. That's
like I said. If I'm just kind of going at a normal pace, I'm sure it's probably 55 to 60 words a minute. But it's like if I'm trying to go fast, I can hit like low 80s, but normally, if I try to go that fast, I make mistakes, and then I have to stop and fix them, and then my average starts to drop pretty quick.
I always thought it'd be beneficial if you could somehow rig something up so you got electrocuted every time you made a mistake.
I'm sure that would be beneficial. Actually,
yeah, I think I'd do a lot better if that's how I would learn.
I would do better briefly, and then I would end up breaking something.
I mean, not like extreme shock, but
just enough
something that you remember, something that makes your feelings hurt.
Yeah.
I don't know. Would that be wrong to do that to my kids? The same amount of type? Anyway, never mind. Don't answer that.
I know. But think about this. I had to get 60 words a minute. I forget what kind of. We based it on a book somewhere. I think I might have based it on my high school typing test book because I was in high school taking typing at the time.
Yeah.
On a typewriter, and I would have to put a piece of paper in the printer or in the typewriter. And type as fast as I could and time it. And then after so many minutes, I would stop. And then I would have to count all of the words, subtract points for mistakes, and then come up with a number. And that's how I had to calculate how fast I was.
Kids listen to this and be like, you might as well be rubbing two sticks together. That's just...
I know.
This is archaic. This is insane.
I know. And you had to proofread it to find the mistakes. Like I had to actually go through and proofread and point out the mistakes. Like, that one's a mistake. It wouldn't tell it for me. I was looking at a piece of paper.
Yeah, you run a freaking typewriter.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
So we got that Pionex, and this thing was advanced. It had a CD drive, which, I mean, that seriously was. Even at the time that I got that computer, not all games or not all programs came on CD drives. You could still go to the store and buy a program on a 3.5-inch drive.
Oh, yeah?
So, but it had a CD drive, It had Windows 98, which I think we did get the computer in 98.
You're way above my first decent computer, so go ahead.
Well, this, again, I probably
Fine.
got this after you got your Packard Bell, though.
Yeah, probably.
But it had Windows 98. It had 32 megabytes of RAM, which I did later upgrade to 64
Oh my
once I
god.
started, being a baller gamer.
Jeez.
It had a Pentium 2 300 megahertz processor.
Wow.
I don't remember what it had for a hard drive.
So, something huge, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm sure it was
I
probably
mean,
massive, like 150, 200 megabytes, something
yeah,
crazy.
you're rolling out Windows 98. You had to have something huge.
But yeah,
Yeah.
that's what that thing was.
Pionex.
Pionex.
Hmm. I have to look that up.
Yep.
So my first was that I actually paid for with my money. I think it took 2 summers of bailing to earn this money, and maybe my parents helped me too because it was $1,400,
Yeah.
and it was a Packard Bell. I got it in '95, right when Windows 95 was released. I mean, I had the CD-ROM drive, quad. Wait a minute, quad speed CD-ROM,
Ooh,
and
quad
I remember
speed.
that sticker, all fancy chrome sticker on the front of the CD-ROM drive that said quad speed, and I just thought that was amazing. I didn't know what it meant. I didn't know if it 4 times fast. I didn't know what it meant. It just was fun to say.
It was quad
Um,
speed. That's really
quad
fun
speed.
to say.
It's fun, really fun to say. And it was $1,400 for this thing. I just can't believe it. And I looked up the specs on it because I didn't remember, but of course, it's 1995. But I had a 540 megabyte hard drive. I also purchased the extended warranty, and my hard drive failed. But they upgraded the whole computer. They sent me a brand new computer,
Wow.
and they sent me a 1 gig hard drive.
Careful.
I I was blown away when I got that. I was so excited. I remember unboxing it and
I
looking
think
at
you
that.
called and talked to me. I think
Yeah.
you told
Oh,
me
I'm
about
sure I
that.
did. I told everybody 256K of RAM. Now, doesn't that seem like not enough? I don't. Maybe they upgraded me on the RAM too.
Yeah.
But we had the Jennifer Aniston and Matthew Perry on the front of the copy of Windows 95. Friends was hot back then.
Really?
Yeah, they remember they advertised for it. They did the user guide. The
Huh.
two of them. Yeah,
For some
look it
reason
up.
that's not something I remember.
Well, you probably didn't watch Friends. Probably weren't allowed.
Well, I'm sure I didn't watch Friends back then. We
I
didn't
I
we didn't have cable or anything. I mean,
no, we didn't either.
we had an antenna with like 2 channels. We probably didn't even get Friends.
We weren't allowed to watch it either. It was something we watched later on, but I knew who they were. I mean, um, it also had a 16-bit Sound Blaster Pro. Remember that? Remember,
Sound cards.
remember choosing the Sound Blaster Pro from the menu? You're like, oh yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
got.
I
If it
had
was there.
mine had integrated audio originally, and I bought a Sound Blaster sound card for that thing with 5.1 channel output and special effects, and that thing was awesome.
You bought it and installed it yourself?
I bought it and installed it myself. I also bought a video card and installed it myself in that computer.
Wow, you really made that thing last.
Yep, and with the AGP slots, do you remember that? Do you remember
Oh
AGP
yeah,
graphics
of
cards?
course, yes.
They weren't PCI back then. It was AGP, and you had to get the right. Oh, it was a minefield back then to make sure you got the right parts. It's so much easier today to build a computer.
Oh man, what do you mean? You didn't just
Everything is
order them on
so much
Amazon?
more standardized.
Yes.
But don't get me wrong, I still did it. I mean, I bought a sound card, I made it work. I bought a video card, I made it work.
Well, I'm still going through the specs on this. If you can stop and interrupt me, that'd be great.
Yeah, well, we'll see. No promises.
I had a 1 megabyte video memory.
Ooh, you must have had something dedicated then.
I did, and I don't know. I don't remember the. I looked at the specs and it just said the CPU 486 SX, and it wasn't a lot of detail on what kind of processor I had.
Okay, well, yeah, it was a 486.
Yeah,
They had the 286 and the 386 and the 486. So
so yeah, I was third generation.
yeah,
You get all that just for $1,400. That wasn't even the monitor, but it did come with the keyboard and the mouse. So
yeah. Well,
oh,
that Pionex, I mean, by the time we bought, the keyboard, monitor, extended warranty and stuff, I think it was close to $2,000 for everything.
Wow. Jeez. Your mom did love you. Gosh, I would have went for 80 words before I spent 2 grand on you.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't just like I said; it was everybody's
Yeah. That you took apart and pieced back together over the years.
many times.
So you had a lot of games on that you tried to install,
Oh,
that you did install, that you
that thing
couldn't
was
install.
so awesome. Do you remember how ridiculous it was? Obviously, you do. You just brought it up.
Yeah.
Buying games, I bought tons of games for that thing, and I had a drawer of games that I never got to play because I never got them to work.
You bought it. That's sad.
That is,
I mean, how hard was it to make money back then for us, And then
yeah.
you finally had enough to buy a game, and you would work on it for hours, and you
Oh,
just never get
days
days,
sometimes,
yes, all
days.
night. Everything else to do, so you just worked on it
You'd
all
have to
night.
call those help lines. Like you were really lucky if one of the companies offered a free one you could call. Sometimes they cost money per minute to call, and they
Oh,
had
help
you.
line. Okay, per minute. Okay, I just remember.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
They had you updating drivers if you could get them, but you couldn't just hop on the internet and just get drivers. I had a company one time mail me a disc with drivers on it.
oh,
Or
you're
maybe
the
it wasn't drivers, maybe it was a patch. They mailed me physical mail mailed me a disc with a patch on it for the game. Still didn't work.
you you didn't know any better though. You didn't know that you never had something. Okay, I'll just go here, download 2 seconds, done. So it was fine. You're like, I'll wait a week. I mean,
Yeah, or a month. I mean, who knows how long it takes them to get you that driver
we didn't
disc.
have anything to compare it to, so that
Yeah.
was it. Like, well, hopefully I'll play it in a couple weeks.
And you would try it and it still wouldn't work. Maybe it would just crash instantly at the menu. Maybe it would crash the whole computer. Maybe it just wouldn't do anything when you clicked on it. Who knows? It just didn't work.
And there was no it was like, I'll just Google it and see if anybody else had this problem. No, there was all the troubleshooting was done by you, and if you could get a hold of technical support, which they never helped.
Yeah, sometimes sound just wouldn't do anything. You turn it on, the sound didn't work. So then you'd go into the settings. The game's always had a settings, and this is what you were starting to talk about, selecting the
Yep.
sound cards. You'd have to go in the settings and pick which sound card you had. And I mean, that particular game only had 10 sound card options, and they were never what you had.
No, never.
So you'd pick generic one, and that wouldn't work. So then you would just one by one pick every single one until you landed on one that would make the sound work. Or you just wouldn't land on one that would make the sound work.
Right. But think about you. I mean, I know I even did a lot of stuff in DOS then too, but with Windows 95 and 98, you could go into Device Manager. You could look and see what failed, look at the drivers. It's how you got all your troubleshooting skills in computers.
Yeah.
That's how I learned everything, where
Me too.
everything was.
Trying
Every
to make
operating
programs
system,
work.
yes.
Yep.
And I don't know what was the problem back then. Why couldn't they just make something work out of the box? Yeah, well, I don't understand why it was so difficult. You looked at the specs in the back of the box, you matched them to what you had, but it was hit and miss, 50% maybe.
I think there was just a lot less standardization back then.
Yeah, I just don't get
There wasn't,
stuff like that.
there were 55 different sound card manufacturers, and every one of them did sound card drivers a different way.
Yeah,
Nothing was standardized. So it's like, I mean, the person that makes the game is like, well, we'll try to make it work with these 15 popular ones, but then if you have one of the 45 other unpopular ones, you're just kind of out of luck because we didn't test it. So good luck.
we didn't test it.
And maybe that just means your sound doesn't work. Maybe that means the game doesn't load at all.
Yeah, mostly the game doesn't load at all.
Usually.
But I mean, this was our days back then. My cousins. You didn't work on the farm with us. Tommy and Ryan, our other cousins. We'd work all day, till who knows when. We'd go after work to buy a game. We'd come home, and we'd sit up there till all night. Most nights we didn't get it installed the first night. We'd have to. I mean, if it worked, it was 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, and then we're like, well, no, we'll either play all night or you just won't play it. But it was like that almost every time. And I had one of our favorite games was the Madden 95.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it was like that. We finally got it to work. And what we also got to work was the splitter for the controller. Did you ever play that with me in my room?
Yes.
It was the only time, and maybe you had luck with this, but I tried all the new computer. I could never get that splitter to work where you could actually have two controllers playing the same game. You had one output, a split for the controllers, and it worked on that thing, on that Packard Bell. And we sat up there for hours and played Madden 95 and then baseball and that was my favorite, better than Doom. It was so fun sitting up there in my room and playing with Tommy. And man, Madden 95. When did Madden's come out? I don't even remember, but that was probably one of the first years.
I mean, I don't know when it first came out, but that was an early one.
I would love to go back and see
what Madden 95 looks like.
What that looks like. Yeah.
We should look that up one of these days.
Yeah, I wonder if you could still get it, you know?
There's probably a way, but I don't know.
It ran so well on that computer, after the 47-hour install process.
And that's another thing. Even if everything went perfect, so like we've talked about the fact that most of the time it was all night trying to get it to work, and a lot of the time you did finally get it to work, but sometimes, even after multiple days, nothing worked. Multiple calls to tech support, patches, new drivers, reinstalling, uninstalling, changing different devices. Just didn't work. Throw it in a drawer and never play it ever. But even if everything went perfect, even if just install the game, it loads, it works, it still was probably 2 hours, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. When you get to that setup screen and you have audio and you're just thrilled, that sense of accomplishment, or the audio's playing, and then sometimes when you start playing the game, the audio wouldn't work. It would only work on the
glitch
menu.
and scratch and
yeah.
But I'm just saying, even if everything worked perfect, it's not like installing a game back then was fast.
2 hours, you're right.
Yeah, you'd put the disc in, you'd wait for your quad speed, CD drive to spin up.
Oh my gosh!
And you'd watch the loading bar for 45 minutes.
Right.
And then
you'd play on your smartphone while you waited, right?
Oh, right, yeah. And then you'd watch the loading bar for 45 minutes. That would finally finish, but then there was still like some other problem. Then it was like, okay, now it's going to start actually loading the game for the first time, and that takes 10 or 15 minutes because then you have to pick all the settings and hope those work. And even if they all did, it's like it was never less than an hour to 2 hours before you'd play a new game.
Yeah. And you were okay with it.
Yeah, you didn't think anything of it. You were that was exciting. It was build up. You were like, oh, this is going to be freaking sweet.
Yeah. I mean, at some point when it didn't work and you threw the game in the drawer, you probably got pissed.
That was pretty disappointing. But I mean, it was like a sense of accomplishment when you got it to freaking work.
Yeah. Yeah, I know my son, Timmy, he puts in a game in the PlayStation. If you walk away, shut it off, you can come back, turn it on, and the game's right back where you left it. But sometimes someone takes the disc out or powers it down. He's got to wait till it loads again. And that's a good minute to 2 minutes that he has to sit there and wait.
Yeah.
I mean, the horror, and seriously, it's like, oh, who took the disc out? Who shut the PlayStation off? Like, seriously? Just remembering what we went through and like, wow. It can't sound like an old man, but my gosh, that's insane. It's the walking uphill to school both ways.
Oh, you remember how exciting it was when you had like a fresh new install of Windows 95 and it only took like 5 to 6 minutes for the desktop to pop up once you hit the power button?
Yeah, you're being really generous.
Really generous. And then once it comes up, you still can't do anything. Then you have to go navigate to the program you want to run.
Yeah.
Click it, and then you're going to wait at least another 5-10 minutes before that game is running.
And I love how you say a fresh install of Windows, because you had to do that all the time.
I know, you did.
I would have a problem, and I'd be like, you know what? I got to reinstall Windows.
Yeah.
And I would do that a dozen times a year. and it would be... That would be all night.
Oh, that was almost an all-day process to format and reinstall Windows, because it wasn't
drivers from the list.
That's what I was going to say. It wasn't just the install of Windows. That part took several hours, but then once Windows is up, You have like a 16 color screen, no sound, nothing. Nothing worked. You had to install drivers for 45 different things, and you didn't know what any of those were unless you had your stack of discs.
And you just try them, and that one didn't work.
You would just install a driver. Would you like to install this driver? Yes. I installed it. Nothing changed. Huh. Well, I guess I didn't need that one.
You'd look at your window, you look at Device Manager, and you look at all the driver, with the
little malfunction exclamation points.
And you have to go in and try every. Laura, my wife, have a problem, and I'll fix it. She goes, "How'd you know to do that?" It's like, because I went through hell and back for years. I know where everything is. This is easy. I know. Don't ask me how. I know. I can't explain it.
Yeah.
It's just because that's what we did with everything. But that was such a great experience because it helps so much with, well, now I guess we're talking about how simple everything became. We don't really need to do that anymore. And now we're getting lazy and be like, well, let me Google it. Oh, let me look at the driver. Oh, that's the driver.
Oh, this program isn't working. Let me just Google that. Oh, here's a forum where somebody, like 1,800 people are talking about that problem. Oh, here's the guy that fixed it. Oh, let me try what he did. Oh, it worked. Cool.
Those idiots that are on the forum or people like us, we could write that. You could write that stuff.
Yeah.
If we could figure that stuff out and help people too, but they're already out there. So why would we mess around?
Exactly. I'll let some other poor sucker do that.
Yeah, they got time. I forgot all about those Windows 95 reinstalls though. That's amazing. Now I'm just picturing when it comes up and you got nothing except big blocky icons or nothing at all.
Yeah.
And you start the process, and how I never remember being like, well, this sucks. I'd be like, oh, this is gonna be great. We install Windows again. And it was so fast.
I was just gonna say, it felt so. That's what I'm saying. The fresh install, like once you do get everything done, you get all the drivers in. It felt so amazing again.
Yeah. It for 20 minutes until
you installed, until you reinstalled all your programs.
Until you reinstalled any program,
right?
So all I need is Doom and Madden 95 because that's all I do anymore. So I'll just install those too.
I guess I'll put my word processor back on there so I can still do school projects.
Yeah, and then I never upgraded my computer like you did. I never added anything. But when Windows 98 came out, I got it. I bought it, and I ran it on that machine. And here's the specs, and I meet the specs. Oh, I meet them, but minimal.
Yeah.
And it would run like shit, but it was a little bit of improvement over 95.
Yeah.
But how many operating systems did Microsoft release that they just had to redo because they were junk?
Most of them.
ME was it Millennial Edition?
Windows Millennium ME. Windows ME.
ME. Yeah, and that was horrible. Vista was horrible.
Yeah.
95 was amazing because it was so.
It was just simple.
Brand new. Yeah, simple.
It was just a light. Well, it seemed light at the time.
Right. Right. I mean, there was Vista. That was a piece of shit. But gosh, the strides they've made. It's even on your topic here with Windows 10. I mean, Windows 10's amazing.
Windows 10 gets a ton of hate, and
some
of it is deserved.
Yes.
There's a lot of things Windows does that I'm not a fan of. Windows 10, I'll say. A lot of things Windows 10 does I'm not a fan of. But because I started with Windows 3.1, then moved to 95, 98, had Vista for a long time, had XP for a long time, had 7 for a while.
It was solid, though. That was a great operating system.
And here's the funny thing. XP, I still do. I agree. It was solid. But you got to remember that by the time they got rid of it, they were on like Service Pack 3 Edition 27. I mean, they did so many updates that system over the years to fix problems.
I got my Windows certification on XP, so I'm a little biased.
Yeah,
that's how far back that certification goes. But man, I love that. I was so good at it, using it. So anyway, go ahead.
I liked that was one of the last ones that truly gave you just 100% control of everything. Yeah. If there's a setting, if there's an why would anything be locked out? Why would anything be hidden? Why would anything not be just completely open to your whims to change?
Yeah.
And that was XP.
Exactly. Why don't they do that now? Because maybe people are screwing with it too much, or they have too
I
many. I don't know, can't figure out why they don't do that with 10.
I think part of it is just trying to make it just kind of that shiny, simple, user friendly kind of look to it.
Yeah.
But also, I think they kind of want to limit the amount of things that people can do because I think there's a couple things to this. I think, if you look on the negative side, yeah, it's so that they can have more control over things. They can have, a better control of their ecosystem and get more money and all that kind of stuff. But you also have to look at the fact that it also helps them standardize things. If
Yeah.
everybody can't get in and tweak everything, everybody knows how Windows is set up and how it behaves in every situation because there aren't 45,000 different custom configurations of it.
Right.
So I think that does lend itself to things just working smoother in more situations. Now, obviously, Windows 10 has its problems, driver issues, all kinds of stuff. But, I mean, again, just coming from where I came from, think about the fact that I can buy just about any peripheral. I can buy a cheap Chinese piece of crap camera and plug it into my computer. Windows recognizes it, finds a driver for it, installs it, and it works.
Almost every time. I
Almost
don't
every
think
time. I mean,
I don't,
you plug in almost any peripheral and it works. Windows finds a driver for it that works close enough. Now, granted, having said that, I do have a problem with my printer that the default Windows driver inverts it. So it's a glitch with the default Windows driver for that particular printer. And
how did you fix it?
when you print something out, instead of being black text on a white piece of paper, it prints the entire piece of paper black with white text on it.
Oh, nice. That's
Slight waste of ink.
Yeah.
Slight waste of ink. But all you had to do
This
is
is the difference.
go to that device and go into the properties and say search for a driver for it. And then Windows would say, how do you want to search for a driver? And then you say search the internet. And then Windows would search the internet and say, oh, we found that you have this particular printer. Would you like to install the drivers for that particular printer? And you say yes. Windows replaces the generic driver with the specific one for that printer, and it worked.
That'd have been 6 to 8 weeks when we were
It took
growing
me
up.
10 minutes to fix it.
And
It was frustrating because I printed out like 5 sheets of pure black.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, what the heck is this going on, And it worked on the last, it worked on my other computer just fine without having to do that. Well, it turned out some particular Windows update changed the default driver, the generic printer driver changed. And it probably fixed 50 other problems, but with my particular printer, it introduced that problem. But all I had to do was get the specific driver for it, and it worked. And the specific driver was available by searching with Windows.
Yeah. Amazing. You appreciate that because of your childhood and what you started with.
Yeah.
And you wrote on this outline about being old and crotchety. But this is when you have kids now. I have a 15, almost 13-year-old and 9-year-old. They were introduced to computers right now where everything is like that.
Yeah.
So everything either just has to work or they're pissed. If it doesn't work immediately, something buffers. If something takes an extra 30 seconds to start, they're mad. What's it doing? What's wrong? Can you fix it? Dad, look, this is doing this. There's no patience. There's nothing else you can do.
Yeah.
I mean, we are where we are, and it's amazing. But it's almost like if I had to do it over, I'd be like, here's a Windows 95. They would never have seen anything else. Here's a Windows 95 computer. Here's my old Packard Bell. Here's what you start with. And then work their way up over the next 3 or 4 years until they have Windows 10, PlayStation 4. They would never complain. They'd know how to fix it all, and they'd be amazed every second.
Yeah.
I know it sounds so stupid, but
it feels like it though.
It
feels like that's what you should do.
I want to just be like, okay, you need to have a history lesson on what it was like, but then you sound just old.
I know you.
Instead, I'm just like, I'll fix it. Or
I can just picture the eye rolls because I know I would have rolled my eyes if my parents would have said that to me.
Nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
You're stuck. And it's like that with Laura, my wife, she's like, "This doesn't work. Why isn't it connected? Why isn't it working?" I'm like, "Well, give me a second. Let me see." It may take a second to load, or maybe the Wi-Fi shut off for a second, or the router was anything. Like, but it's coming right back. Everything's reloading. Have you ever had to reinstall Windows 10 because some major malfunction happened? No. You turn
No,
it
but
on, it's there, it's working, and you get your job done.
I will say this about installing Windows. Think about that process of installing Windows 95 or Windows 98, and the blocky like 250-bit or 256-bit display. Remember the 256-bit
Mm-hmm.
or no, not 256-bit, 256 color.
Yes.
It would come up with the 256 color,
Yes.
like 640 by
Right.
480 graphics before you installed all the right drivers, and then you'd have to do, you'd have to. It was like you said, it was just a sheet. I had actually made, because I had done it so many times on my computer. I made a sheet of the drivers that I needed and the specific order that they had to be installed in, because if you did it in the wrong order, you'd mess stuff up.
Gosh.
You might install the drivers for one thing, and then it would mess up your ability to install the drivers for the next thing if you did it in the wrong order. So I had a cheat sheet of all the drivers I needed and the specific order they had to be installed in for it to work for Windows 98.
You were smart.
And it took
I just went through the process every time and
hours and hours, and every step of the way was marred with the possibility of something going wrong. And now, I mean, I like you said, I've never had to reinstall Windows 10, but I've built a lot of computers and I install Windows 10 on them. It's, I mean, as long as the computer is connected to the internet, you install Windows, which takes, I don't know, a few minutes, and then it gets to a screen where it says it's setting things up. It initially shows up at kind of a low resolution, but not too bad. It starts asking you some questions. As I'm answering those questions, the screen suddenly flashes. Now it's in full, perfect, crisp resolution because it installed, it discovered what video card I have. It installed the proper drivers for it in the background while I was answering the questions. And the only thing that I even saw to know that happened in the background was that the screen suddenly flickered a little and was clearer when it was done.
They got to get rid of that flicker. That bothers the piss out of me.
I know. I almost threw the computer against the wall when that happened the other night when I was building my computer. So
yeah,
and
that's
then,
a miracle.
And then you get done answering all the questions. Boom, you're at the desktop. All the default Windows programs are there. The drivers are all installed. Nothing needs done. The chipset drivers are there. Video card drivers, sound card drivers, networking drivers. I had a specific set of drivers for my CD drive on my Windows 98 computer.
Oh my god.
My CD drive had its own drivers that I had to install for it.
Oh, those were the days. Though, don't you want to just get one of those machines and do it again?
Just so you know, I wish just because of the incredible memories I have of running stupid, dumb programs on that Windows 98 Pi NX.
Yeah.
I wish so bad I still had that computer.
Get one. We should get a Packard Bell and a Pi NX, get together, play some Madden 95 till it crashes, of course, inevitably. Whole thing crashed and have to redo it. It'd be so fun.
Yeah.
How old do we sound? My gosh. I mean, it's terrible.
The old is just dripping in this podcast.
Terrible. I mean, where are we going to be 10 years from now? I'm not going forward. I'm going back again. Internet. When did you get internet? Did you have it on your Pi NX?
We did eventually get it on the Pi NX.
Get your AOL disc from Blockbuster that had 473,000 hours. Why don't you use them within 30 days for free?
I don't think we had AOL. I don't remember what we had.
What did you have? Do you have Juno for email?
But I know it was dial-up.
Well, yeah.
Obviously. And then it was... Gosh, I don't think it was AOL. We had something else. But, I mean, it used the phone line, and we had one phone line in the house.
Sure.
And, my sister was a teenager at the time, so she was on the phone about 23 hours a day. So
you had to get that hour window where you could use the internet.
And it was like there was no just you didn't just browse the internet back then. You didn't just get online and just scroll around and see what you could find. You had to have a specific task to be done. So like, okay, I bought this game. I talked to tech support. They say there's a driver. They gave me the website that I can download that driver from. So now I have to figure out a time when I can use the internet. I will dial into the internet, go to this specific site to download that driver, which will take, I don't know, about an hour. And it's like, 38 kilobytes, this driver.
Right. As long as somebody picks up the phone.
As long as somebody picks up the phone and screams at me from upstairs that she needs to make a call and she's waiting for one and this better not take long.
Happens every time.
No, no, but I get it. You want to use the phone and you pick it up and there's like this horrible noise screeching in your ear. That's stupid.
Yeah.
It was so dumb. I hated it.
Yeah, it's like sending a fax, like prayer sending faxes.
Yeah.
You had one teenage sister. I had two.
Yeah.
So that 23 hours, I think they did 26 a day. But they actually, when they figured out they could send email to who knows who else had computers, we'd use Juno, but you'd type the whole email out. Remember that? And you would send it. So it would only dial out to send it.
Sure.
Which was handy. So you hit send and you wait. And then I don't know, sometimes it would miss. It would go somewhere else. I'd dial a different number. I remember there was 4 or 5 numbers that would try. You remember that?
Oh, yeah. It would try and find an open, yeah.
Right. And then you go through and wait the process, and then sometimes it wouldn't work, and it had to save it, and to go back and try later, or someone picked up the phone while you were trying to do it. And, I don't remember when we got. I didn't live at home because my mom still doesn't have internet. But when I moved out and we had internet that was just on all the time, that was just mind blowing to me.
Yeah.
That it was always connected. You just walk over to your computer, you open up, it's running. There you go. That was amazing, and it wasn't fast. It was terrible. Remember when you try to download a picture? Dial up. Just be like,
yes.
Doom. Terrible.
Remember when most websites didn't have pictures?
Right. Because they couldn't. They loaded too
slow. They didn't have pictures and videos. It was text. And there
Right.
would be, if you wanted to see pictures, there was a specific page for pictures. And sometimes there was 2 different ones, and they would be labeled at different download rates because they would have to have the one page that had the small, shitty pictures on it that you could load with your poor person internet. And then you'd click on the poor person one because, let's be honest, we didn't have the important person internet.
We were trying to use our free AOL minutes before the time ran out.
Yeah. And it was like pixel by pixel, line by line, that picture would come in, and you're like, you just stare at it, waiting for this thing to load. It was pathetic. And think about it, that picture was probably, a few kilobytes?
Yeah.
And then I was actually annoyed because for a long time I still had slow internet once, quote, broadband was starting to get popular.
Yeah.
So a lot of people were starting to have, quote unquote, high speed internet, like 1 to 2 megabytes per second download speeds.
Insane.
And so once that started to get like theoretically, popular, websites suddenly started just having pictures all over the place. And the internet got so freaking slow for people like me that still were crawling around on dial-up.
You were slumming it still.
Yeah.
I was too. But I remember getting or wanting to get internet at home, and I was a teenager. Got my Packard Bell when I was 13 or 14, and my mom being worried because she heard there's bad things on the internet. You could see bad things. I'm like, you can't even download a picture. Who would want to wait for something like that? Like, seriously?
Yeah.
Like, dial out, and that's what you're gonna do? I just remember being amazed that was out there, and that people waited for it. Anyway, that was a joke. Now you're streaming, 4K. It's gonna be 8K soon, right?
I don't know about soon, but
we would be surprised.
Yeah, I'm sure it probably already happened somewhere.
But I know we're talking 98, 95, which is 22 years ago.
Yeah.
But still, from there to now, you're talking about not being able to download a picture to streaming 4K. So
Seamlessly.
seamless. Yeah, I mean,
It's just you press
multiple people
a
have to.
button and the video's playing. I mean, it's seconds.
And that's another thing. Going back to my kids and me being crotchety. If they're watching something and you get that little circle in the middle where it's buffering, like Dad's buffering. I can't even. I just have to leave the house. I'm going outside. I'm going out in the woods. I can't deal with that. It's buffering. I mean, I'll be working and they'll be on their Kindles. You can do all that stuff at once.
Yeah.
So 10 years from now, I mean, how do you get? I mean, we're going to get fiber pretty soon to our. You can get that a lot of places, a lot of residentials. People get fiber.
I want fiber. I don't have it. I just because I think it would be cool. I don't need it.
Of course you want fiber. I don't need it.
I don't need it. I just think it'd be awesome.
Every now and then I'll go to my ISP, internet service provider, and be like, do they have anything faster? I'm willing to pay another $10 a month to have something even faster. I never have any problem, and I can stream 4K, but they have anything faster?
I know.
Yours is a lot faster than mine. So you jumped over me now because I don't even. Maslin Cable doesn't even offer what you have. Like I have the fastest you can get, and it's still. Anyway, I'm jealous.
What is yours? Like 100 megabits?
Yeah. I think that's last time I ran it was 100.
Mine's like 200, but
yeah, that's insane.
It's funny because when I first got my own apartment, I got internet. I didn't get cable. I didn't even get a phone. I mean, I had a cell phone. You know, of course, it was it wasn't even a flip phone. I don't think it was like one of those candy bar phones. You know.
Oh right! Wow. Man, we're not even talking old phones. Jeez.
I know, but I did get internet though because I'm like, well, you know, to be able to watch a show or, you know, play a game online or something like that, you know, I'll get the internet, but, you know, I won't have to have cable or anything. And I got kind of their middle speed, and I think it was like 5 megabits per second. And over the years, my provider has constantly improved their speeds.
Yeah.
And I remember after a while it went to 8, and then like within a year it went to 15.
Jeez.
And I was like, that's amazing. And, you know, I didn't have to charge any extra. And then eventually it did go up a little bit of the price, but then it went up to like 25 or 30 megabits per second download speeds.
You were flying.
And then all of a sudden, next thing you know, a couple of years later, it's 50, and then it's 75. They just kept going up. And then eventually I did actually upgrade to one step up from the middle, which went from, because eventually the middle speed was 100. And then I went up to the faster speed of 200, but only because it also increased because the download speed went from 100 to 200, but I wanted the upload speed to go up. And it went from like 3 to 5. And then later I paid like an additional 10 to upgrade that to 10. So my upload speed is only 10 megabits per second.
That's still good, though.
But it's still okay. But basically, the only reason I did that is because when I upload YouTube videos, it's the difference of an hour and a half instead of 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah.
You know, for a big YouTube video.
Which are like 100 megs, maybe less, right?
Yeah. Oh, that's really stupid too. Wow. I mean, I don't even usually record at 4K. I record at just 1080p and
just 1080. Oh
just
my God.
1080 because that's enough for YouTube, you know.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you're recording at a decent quality level, I'll record it and make a 10, 20-minute video, and it's 15 gigs.
Man, that's
insane.
Know,
it's crazy. And then, of course, once I edit it and render it, I render it at a lower bit rate because YouTube can't really use that much anyways. Usually the videos that I upload to YouTube are between like 1 to 6 gigs.
Yeah, we just take it for granted. Well, we don't. Most people just take it for granted. Let's do that.
Think about that. 1 to 6 gigs. Like, you were so excited that your Packard Bell had that gigantic 1 gig hard drive on it, and it couldn't even hold one of my YouTube videos.
No, the whole hard drive. You know, but think about what they did with the operating system in that, though. I mean, now an operating system takes up multiple gigs of your hard drive.
Oh, isn't 10 like 30 gigs or something? Or maybe it's 17, but then if you add all the extras, it's 30 something. I know, it's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I just did a script for a Windows 10 install, and I think I was 17 gigs, just a base install. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that's right. I got to reserve 17 gigs of hard drive space for this. And
Just for the operating
but
system.
yeah, and I don't know what was left after Windows 95 was installed on my 1 gig hard drive, but still they ran it all. I didn't have to
Yeah.
run the disk. I didn't have to use that quad core or
Right.
quad CD-ROM drive. So that was impressive too. You could use a mouse and everything.
Yeah.
It's amazing. But you did you kind of start out with Windows 98? You said, or that's just what the Pi NX had on it?
That's what
When
the
you got
Pi NX had on it. Like I said, the computer that we got from my mom's work before that had Windows 3.1.
okay.
But again, when you're using Windows 3.1, you're in DOS 50% of the time.
Yeah. Did you ever were you able to upgrade that to 95? You weren't.
No, we never upgraded that one. Like I said, it had like a 50 megabyte hard drive.
That's right. That's right.
Um, like I said, the computer I used before that, it literally was just DOS on a 5.25-inch floppy disk. Because that one didn't even have a hard drive. So
I remember I used to have at work too. When I first started at work, I had just one of those stacks of disks with random drivers, random files and programs that I'd save it to a disk and keep it beside me. Because I don't know why I had to do that. I don't know if Windows XP didn't support things and I was using it for troubleshooting or for user problems, but I just always had a stack of CDs next to me that I ran. Now computers don't even come with a CD-ROM drive.
no, most of them
Nothing
don't.
does. No.
I don't.
I mean, none of our laptops do.
There have been desktop computers that I have built that I have specifically included a CD drive for because the person that I was getting it for wanted
Yeah,
that.
I wanted that. Yeah.
But I haven't built a desktop for myself that had a CD drive in it for a long time. And a lot of the cases that you buy now for desktop computers, they don't have the bays that you could even put one in.
Man, that was always so fun pressing that button and seeing that drawer come out.
Yeah, it
Remember,
was.
someone would have different things, like there'd be a little flap in the front would pop down first, then the CD would come out,
Uh-huh.
or then you didn't even have to have it. You would just set it there and it would suck it in.
Yeah, I remember the ones that were just a slot.
Yes. Yeah, that was so satisfying for some reason. I don't
Yeah,
know
the
why.
slot loads ones were really fun for some reason. They
Yes.
had like the little furry liner that to keep dust from getting in there.
And there was never any dust in there when you took them apart. They were always just
No, perfect.
spotless.
Yeah, and then they would fail, like the ejection system would fail and
Yeah.
the drive would go bad and you'd be like, well, I'm never getting that disc back.
I wonder if you tracked it, if you saw if they took CD players out of cars around the same time they stopped selling putting CD-ROM drives in computers. That's only happened in the past 4 or 5 years where they stopped putting them in cars.
Yeah.
I don't even know if you can get them. I think my wife was still looking for a cassette player in the last car we got, and she was really pissed they didn't have a CD player.
Yeah, I mean, there probably still are situations where you can get a CD player in a car, but I don't think it's common anymore. Instead, you just get a USB drive and you plug your phone or your music player or whatever into it.
Yeah, just Bluetooth it.
Yeah, or Bluetooth, even better.
Yeah. I remember being so impressed with one of Tom and Joni's, our aunt and uncle's car that had both the cassette player and the CD player.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Actually, his Tahoe, that old Tahoe he still drives, still has that stupid cassette player down at the bottom. They just shoved it down there by the shifter,
Yeah.
And like, we'll leave it there just in case somebody wants to run an old cassette. And we'll put a CD player in as well. But yeah, I don't. I mean, I had tons of CDs, and that's how I listened to all my songs in Columbia House. Or do you remember that brilliant program?
Yeah, where you
a penny but if you kept it too long, they charged you like $47 for a CD.
Yeah.
You had to pay $1.80 in shipping. Or
yeah,
whatever.
but I knew so many people that had started it, got their 15 free CDs, canceled it immediately, and then you get a friend to let them use their address, and you sign up again, get another 15 free CDs.
Yeah, I wonder if they obviously went bankrupt, but I wonder if they went bankrupt because not just because people stopped listening to CDs, but because people were
Oh
taking
no, I'm
advantage.
sure it's because the plan they came out with. I mean, I'm sure they were hoping that people would just not cancel it immediately,
Yeah,
and stick with it. And some people probably did, but I think way too many people just saw the opportunity to be like, well, I mean, what it really comes down to is I can just pay my $15 like initial startup fee and then
yep,
get 35 CDs or whatever the crazy number was, and then cancel.
yeah. I remember looking through there trying to find 35 that I wanted. Like I never even heard of these people. I don't even. I got 5 that I actually want. Listen to. They're the ones you just get because they're free.
Yeah,
And then I just had them. In my remember those big black stacks. You could
yeah,
just
yeah. The
put
big
CDs in your
black like
car. Yeah.
racks.
Yep. And
Yep.
Brad, our cousin Brad, had a CD changer under his seat,
Yeah,
and
you
it
could put like 6 CDs in it.
yeah, and you could cycle through them right from the head unit. That
Yep.
that came off when you went into a store, so no one stole it.
Yeah.
That was high tech.
Yeah,
Like,
it
let me
was.
just put this in my pocket. Are you happy to see me? Is there a front of
CD player head unit in your pocket.
like, would you take that to the restaurants with you? Put it on the table.
Oh,
That was our phone then, I
I
guess,
knew
huh?
people that did that. I had friends that I would go places with, and you'd walk into a store and they're carrying around the head unit in front of it.
Stupid. Was there that much theft going on, or people were stealing stereos?
I think there kind of was.
Or was it just
There
that
must have been.
it felt cool pressing that button and releasing the head unit?
Well, I mean, that was definitely cool.
Yeah, I know. I had one. I think Brad even gave me, and I was always excited about it. Usually, I just like locked it in my glove box, though.
Just so that it would look gone.
Yeah, it would look gone. You could break into the car and find it, um, but now my phone connects to my car automatically when you get in, and then you got
Yep.
200 songs at your disposal.
Yeah.
Not doing anything. Just here we go. Getting a wreck, trying to shuffle through them, and
Well, that
no
was always the
distraction.
case.
But
You
Brad, we go on a trip with Brad. He put like 5 Journey CDs in there. It's like, yeah, that's great. We get all these options, but it's all the same. All Journey. So that was fun.
are you? I can see it now. We're gonna start getting hate mail for that now.
Oh, from Journey,
The
Journey
Journey
fan.
fans or Journey themselves, they're gonna call us up, send us hate
Yeah,
mail.
yeah, they're too old. They don't know what a podcast is.
That's true.
Yeah, are they
Yeah.
still around? I don't even know.
I have no idea. I have no idea.
If Brad
I'm
ever
sure
listens
there's
to
some
this,
fans there that are going to be sending us hate mail though.
yeah,
You just had
yeah.
to. We went this whole episode without insulting any people or countries, and you just had to throw the Journey dig in there.
I know. I got so much hate mail from chicken lovers. It was terrible.
Yeah, I did hear some people thinking that was a little bit cruel.
Yeah, I had people protesting outside my house.
Did you?
Yeah, holding up chicken signs.
Was it
We
was it
love
your chickens?
It was my chickens.
Your chickens were outside protesting.
I'm happy to report I still have 7.
Oh, that's
So
good.
no more deaths. I'm sure everybody was waiting with bated breath to hear my report on how many chickens I have still. My kids are convinced that one of them's a rooster. So, they're when you order hens, they say they're 99.4% guarantee you get all hens. So,
Oh, really?
we could have a rooster in there.
Hmm.
Yeah, don't worry, I'll update you next time. I know you'll be excited.
I can't wait.
I thought maybe we wouldn't talk about toasters and chickens on this one, but somehow we got into chickens. Ellie listened to that last one as she came down. She's like, "Man, you talked about chickens a lot." I just kept going back to it. It's just so funny to me. I don't know why. But anyway, do you want to? I want to talk. We mentioned phones for a second. Do you remember what your first cell phone was?
Yes.
What was it? Of course you do. Why would I even ask? Yes. Didn't think about it at all. Yes.
Oh, if I look online, I'm sure I could come up with the model number.
I'm sure. Surprised you don't know it.
But
Disappointed.
I could make up a number, but I'd probably be wrong.
Yeah.
Keyword make up. Keywords. It was an audio Vox,
Oh, there you go. I remember audio.
and it was like the candy bar style. It didn't flip or anything. It had about a 1-inch antenna nub on the top, but it
Mhm.
pulled up, it extended up like another like 6 or 8 inches.
Oh,
Do
for
you
those
remember that?
roaming calls.
Yeah. And then it just had, like a 50 by 60 pixel black and white display.
I love
And
that antenna though. That's hilarious. I remember that pulling those stupid antennas up like
yeah.
that. That was a game changer right there.
Yeah, and it was just a simple phone, but I liked it. I mean, it worked great for me. I was like, other than maybe our uncle who had that like suitcase like bag
Yeah,
phone. Do you remember
I
that
used to
thing?
tell my kids about that. Yes, where you had to keep it in the truck or you carry it around.
I mean,
It's like friggin' luggage.
the battery was like, the size of a briefcase, and still only got like 45 minutes of talk time out of it.
If you were lucky. Exactly. Yeah, it was way better than that. It was
So yeah, that
I mean,
that was the first one I knew about in our family, but I was the first one to actually get like a real cell phone other than that, as far as I
okay.
know. Um,
Yeah, I think
and
Mindy, my sister, got the first one I think in our family, and it was. Do you remember those real big? I know everything was big and chunky back then, but it had that little flap that just covered the buttons.
oh yeah, yeah,
Just the flip flap covered just the buttons.
yeah, those
And
were
you,
cool. I didn't have
well,
one that cool.
well, it had the extendable antenna too, so
Yeah,
they threw that in there. That was standard. You didn't have to pay extra for that.
that's good.
Uh,
Mine you could unscrew and take it out. Could she take her antenna off?
yes, I took that all the time because it was fun to unscrew.
Exactly. It's just something
Yeah,
to do with my hands while I'm sitting there. I'd be taking
right.
that antenna off.
It was our fidget spinner.
Yeah, exactly.
But she let me borrow it when we went on vacation. I think when we went to Wyoming, Ryan and I borrowed it. And, it was roaming once you got 45 feet out of the door, and you had to pay extra for that.
Yeah.
As long as you're in your kitchen, it was fine. You weren't roaming. But when you went in your car and drove down the driveway, then. So I remember I called somebody, uh, and I was in a different state, and I was calling, and it said roaming, and I'm like, "What's great? It's charging Mindy a bunch of money." Um, but and I had to cut my big 5 minutes, and that's it. But I was just amazed that it was one of my first cell phone calls. It was so fun. I mean, it was so expensive. Remember how expensive it was to have a cell plan? I mean,
Mine wasn't that. I mean, yeah, it was. I mean, for back then, it was really expensive.
it was a
But
lot.
mine wasn't too bad. I think it was around $35 a month, maybe 40 for
Oh,
mine.
hers was like $80, and it was
Really?
yeah, and that wasn't including the roaming charges. And I think her understanding was that, well, as long as I'm not in Rome, I should be good. But
Yeah.
they re-explained that one to her. Um, but now it's like, well, yeah, even I think Ryan Reynolds' a new company, that Mint Mobile. It's like $15.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, you
Wow.
get like 3 gigs of and what was your data on your phone? That are pretty good, so you could. Oh right. Oh wait, no, we
Oh,
didn't
my
have any.
AudioVox, that thing didn't have data. Are you nuts?
That's what I mean. That $15 also includes 3 gigs of data.
Yeah.
Here you are. You're paying, which you said was cheap, then $35.
Back then, it was cheap, but that
Yeah.
included like, I think that
How
was
much talk
20.
time? No
I was just gonna
text.
say that was like 25 minutes a month,
Right. That's what I was gonna say. You got.
and
Remember the
then it
plans were
was
so many
it
minutes.
was like 35 cents a minute after that.
Yeah, and then when they introduced texting, it was how many texts? 25 texts
I think it was
or
like 25 cents to send one and 10 cents to receive one.
oh my gosh.
And my plan didn't include any text. Are you crazy?
At that's my point. It's like it was so expensive and you were so limited but we could make phone calls outside of our house, so it was amazing.
Yeah, it was. I mean, that was revolutionary to me.
Yeah, we had our one phone in the kitchen hanging on the wall. It had a cord. It had the dial, the round
The rotary.
you-
Yeah, oh yeah.
rotary dial. And then if you wanted to have privacy, you just went in the pantry, or we bought a longer cord and you kind of go around in the bathroom. That was. But then I was at Ace Hardware. Yeah, Ace Hardware. Go Jeff Hyken. Was that his name? Anyway,
I
um,
know it, but I'm not gonna pretend it. I'm not gonna. I'm gonna pretend I don't.
and I bought a cordless phone and brought
Yeah.
that baby home, and my sisters were so excited for some reason. I bought it, but they fought over that. Everybody fought over that thing. You could go anywhere in the house. Remember the gigahertz? It would you
Yeah, it
as a
would
kid.
tell how many megahertz it was or how many gigahertz.
And then they came with 2 or 3, where you could put them all over the house.
Yeah.
And that was revolutionary for us, is having a cordless phone in the house. I think my mom and dad were even like, "Oh, we don't need that. What the heck? You don't need a cordless phone. You got one right here. We got a 90-foot cord on it now. You can go up in the barn." Why do you just keep extending the cords? They just buy a new one, mostly because it got pinched in half because we were in the pantry with it. But
Yeah.
you know, you call a girl to go out and date. The privacy of the pantry is just not working out. Did you end up getting a cordless phone there for your house? Was that exciting for you?
Oh yeah, we got the cordless phone, and that was great because you would think, okay, now that we have the cordless phone, you can't slam it down when you get mad at somebody,
Right.
But
Right.
you're missing out on the other opportunity, which is don't hang up on it. Just throw the phone while they're still on it.
You're not going to do that with your $700 iPhone.
No, but you'll do that with your cordless phone that's built like a freaking brick.
I just want to know who you were talking to that you had to slam the phone. Probably your support for install of your games.
No, I don't think I ever did that, but
No, not you, but someone in your family might have.
well, it's a good way to express your dissatisfaction with the other person on the line.
Yeah, now you just send hate tweets.
Hate tweets.
You just bully them through Twitter.
Yeah.
Here you go. Take that.
If I had a Twitter account, then maybe I would.
Yeah, me too. We still got that. But our pact goes for Facebook, though, not for Twitter. So,
well,
not that
we could just go ahead and add Twitter to the pact right now if you want.
That's fine, because I'll never get either. So,
yeah.
And again, we sound old.
Oh man, so old, but it's so worth it.
It is. Would you change a thing if you could go back and say, "Well, just have a Windows 10 simple miracle working machine now"? No, I would never.
And the funny thing is, I'm getting so old and crotchety. I almost want it to get worse.
That's bad.
I'm almost at a point where I don't even want it to be as good as it is.
That's great. Well, it's gonna get better, right?
It's not true. I like how awesome it is now, but yeah, I hate that. Like you said, it's like nobody gets that experience anymore. Which, I mean, of course, again, that I sound super crotchety because there's plenty of problems in this world for people to learn how to fix. They don't need more. Right. They don't need more added. So
that's true. But do they even have this generation have that mindset of what it takes to get it working, and the troubleshooting skills and the dedication, the patience?
Not as much.
It doesn't seem like it. I haven't seen it.
Not as much.
In my kids, that stuff still needs fixed, but I don't know how many new IT guys there are getting into it, but it's a different this newer generation of IT guys learned a lot different. Now it's basically, well, I'm just going to Google it, and to me I do it too. I'm not saying I don't, but
sure,
I take advantage of it. But a lot of times like when I built my chicken coop, I didn't watch any YouTube videos. I just wanted to do it. I just wanted to have it in my head and put it out there without watching anything.
Yeah.
And learning that way and being creative and using your imagination there's huge benefits to that. And
sure.
we're just not doing that anymore because, of course, my kids Google everything. Why not? I don't blame them. It's so easy. And plus,
it's
now you don't even have to do that. They're just the hub is in the kitchen. They're just like, hey, Google. And they don't have to type anything. And then they get pissed because it doesn't respond right away. Like it didn't hear you. Anyway, again. Yeah,
old and crotchety. Just keep going back to
that. So, yeah, I was looking through your outline and brought it back up. And man, we covered everything on there without even following it.
No, I don't think I've looked at it.
Okay. I just brought it back up and I'm like, oh my gosh, we went through all this. Which I was told our podcast need to be about an hour and a half.
You were told that by who?
Yeah. Critics.
Oh, critics. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So should we make this one 2 hours then, just to screw with them?
Yeah. Yeah. And I listened to Joe Rogan's podcast, and he just had one on there. It was 5 hours.
Yeah.
But I'm not. Of course, people would want to hear him and his guest talk for 5 hours.
Yeah. I don't even want to. I wouldn't even want to listen to me for 5 hours.
No, I didn't. but I shied away from that one. I'm like, yeah, who has 5 hours listening to a podcast? An hour and a half is pretty good, though.
Yeah, that's not a bad
Yeah,
podcast.
yeah. Unless you have more. I wasn't trying to cut you off.
I see how it is.
I,
I got your drift there. You were telling me to shut up. I get it.
the last one, Katie and I were talking way too much, and you were throwing out those really good questions. But I'm like, I get done. I said, man, Katie, I think you and I kind of took that whole conversation along, and Tony was just in the background. I felt bad for that.
No, that's fine. That was great. I'm glad she was, able to just talk and not feel,
Yeah,
not feel like she had to, hold back or anything. That's great.
yeah, it was fun. We'll have to get another guest.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Yeah, somebody that's a little less nerdy than us that just talks about computers for an hour and a half. Actually, the funny thing is, it's not even like that nerdy as stuff we're talking about.
No,
We're just almost all of it could just boils down to how old we are.
no, I didn't get into like the computer registries and script writing and
Yeah.
all this crap and servers and what Windows software is they offer for server. I mean, you could have gotten that would be nerd stuff that everybody like. Why are you talking? But we did. It's the surface. This is just reminiscing about 30 years of working and experience with computers. Which thing is, a lot of people our age, if they listen to this, they'd be like, "Hell yeah, exactly."
I probably.
Everybody was doing this. Everybody back then that.
Well, sure. If you were interested in computers, you had to do this stuff.
Right. It wasn't like we're stupid and our games just didn't install. No one's did.
Yeah, no games worked.
Nothing worked out of the box. So yeah, that's it.
Yep. Well, that was fun. We'll have to think of another good one for next time, but
sounds good. Thanks, Tony.
Yeah, thank you. For now, this one sure filled the hour and a half.
It did.